So Shirley Temple wants me to do her birth chart reading. As I was meditating, I just kept hearing Shirley Temple, and I kept seeing like pictures and images of her as I was meditating on my heart space. So let's go ahead. She wants her birth chart read, so we're going to read Shirley Temple's birth chart. Okay. Now, as you guys know, I am a Vedic astrologer. I follow Vedic astrology. I'd like to go deeper into the stars, into the universe, into the constellation. All right, so this is our birth chart. Might be a little hard for you guys to see, but hopefully you guys can see as much as I can. All right, so we're just going to go through the basics. Keep in mind, this isn't going through her nakshatras or any of the deeper secrets in Vedic astrology. We're just going to do a basic mundane reading. If you guys would like your birth chart reading, you can do that at Levon's Divine Touch. And as always, may she rest in paradise. Let's go ahead and get into her reading. So with her sun in Aries in the 5th house, this means she was very exuberant, very independent, very strong, very fiery. She could have been very charismatic, very laughable. She loved being admired. She loved being the leader. She loved taking charge, okay? There was just a light, something about her sense of self-expression that could just, it was just, not even like adorable. It's just like something that is just very childlike, especially with it being in the 5th house here. With her sun and Aries in the 5th house, she could have been on this never-ending adventure of self-development and always finding new ways to improve herself or to express herself. Now, with her moon in the sign of Gemini in the 7th house, this lets me know that she might have had 2 different personalities, or she might have attracted people with different personalities who could have brought a either darker or either lighter part of herself out. This also lets me know that she had a lot of internal war and conflict, especially when it came to her relationships. She could have overgiven, or even overtaken in some sense, or she could have been manipulated and taken of by her emotions, because with Gemini and the moon, this talks about someone who's kind of really never settled. Okay, this is someone who's always on the go. And with it in the 7th house, she could have had like a lot of relationships that came to take some of her light with it, with all that fire there, take some of her power in a sense, and kind of just ghost, disappear. Gemini energy struggles with being consistent. So she probably had a lot of inconsistency in her partnerships, inconsistency in her emotions, inconsistency just as in general within her heart space. Now, with her Mercury in the sign as conjunct to her sun and her Chiron, all 3 of these being connected, Mercury being the planet of the way that we think, the way that we communicate, okay? She might have started things and had trouble finishing things. She could have started things and then not had finished them. That's a big thing right there with that Aries and Chiron conjunct the sun. She might have I don't know why I said Jupiter. She does have Jupiter in the 5th house, so there's a connection there as well. But with her Mercury, Sun, and Chiron all connected, she had a very wounded ego. She could have been judged, criticized, shamed, misused, all the opposite of what Leo and Aries energy would be. So this could be very codependent. She could have had very dominating energies around her, or she could have carried this very dominating energy, and this is why she attracted energies who wanted to dominate over her, especially in her childhood. With Aries in the 5th house, this talks about her having a very dominant parent or figure around her, a role model in a sense, who kind of took control of her reality as a child, with it being in the 5th house. with Mercury, especially in the way that she was thinking and the way that she expressed herself, she was Chiron. It could have been a mother or a father who didn't allow her to actually express her true authenticity because they were so dominating and overpowering, especially at her young ages. This could have been anywhere between the ages of 1 to 5. I'm hearing from ages 1 to 5. She could have had a no sense of control, especially when it came to the way that she expressed herself. It was kind of like someone was like, "I'm the leader of your life, and this is how it's gonna go," which probably empowered her as she got older to never allow anyone to take that type of power over her life ever again, and then teach others who struggle with having controlling or overbearing parents in a sense. Now, moving on to her Venus and Pisces in the fourth house. This means she was attracted to lots of mystical things, mystical experiences. Her home was probably very beautiful, very artistic and creative. She probably had lots of beautiful paintings, or was just into those Piscean things like fairies and unicorns. Okay, makeup could have been a big thing here. This also talks about photography as well. Pisces rules fantasy, which is photography here. So with her Pisces in the fourth house, her whole foundation, which was built on her being an actress, strongly was devoted from her desire in this placement right here. She wanted to have a kind of mysterious front, especially when it came to her roots. She could have been even very secretive with it at a higher octave and degree. She really wanted to share compassion and love, especially when it came to her home environment. She was very big on unconditional love, especially when it came to matters of the home. She could have been very nurturing to her mother, or had a very nurturing mother supporting her through her career. Or this could have fallen into the wrong place, where, because Pisces also rules addictions in that sense as well. She could have had a mother who was an addict with Venus here, a mother who was an addict for material things, and this is just something that Shirley Temple just probably wasn't into with Pisces at this higher degree. She was more into more of the art degree of this, and then she could have had a mother who at a lower degree wasn't so much into the art but into the gains that she could get from her mystical energy here with this Pisces here. This is like her dreams. Her mother could have used her dreams against her here as well with this Venus and Pisces in the fourth house. Or she could have just her dreams, desires and dreams was to have a home where there was unconditional love, and this might have been something that she truly desired and worked for. Now with Mars in Aquarius in the third house, this talks about her being ambitious on having a community. This talks about her environment being very ambitious and the people that she grew up with, her community, her upbringing. There could have been lots of conflict and chaos in the home, unpredicted fights, unpredicted ambitions from others, not seeing others' ambitions clearly here. She could have been very farsighted in what it is she wanted to do for her future self at a young age. She knew exactly what she wanted to do. But with Mars, it's like she had to fight to do what she wanted starting at a very young age because of the unpredictable chaos. Because Aquarius energy is like a rebellion energy, and then Mars is like anger. So either she carried this rebellious anger or her environment carried this rebellious anger, and it made it hard for her to express this unconditional love energy within her home. Now with Jupiter and Pisces, this talks about her having lots of spiritual gifts. Not only having lots of spiritual gifts when it came to the arts and self-expression, photography, makeup, beauty, just all the Piscean things. She was very blessed by her ancestors here, and she thought that higher education was one of the most important things here. Um, she wanted to make a change here, very intuitive and very wise. She has a lot of wisdom that you really can't find in the books. It's kind of like internal wisdom here, is what I'm getting. With Jupiter Pisces in the fifth house, this is an individual who is open to different philosophies, open to learning different philosophies, and very spiritual at its core here. With Saturn in Scorpio in the first house, this individual could have, in the retrograde, went through a lot of harsh things, especially with Saturn in Scorpio. A lot of things could have been restricted, or she could have had to deal with the responsibility of others' well-being. With it being in the first house, this is giving Scorpio ascendant energy. This could do with molestation. With Saturn, this could be her being abused for her image, for her sexuality, because Scorpio is sexuality and Saturn is there. This could be like, it's so dark. Saturn, Scorpio in the first house is a very dark energy. This also talks about having a very deep hidden power, her having to learn from the lessons of her sacred sexuality here, and kind of like recreating an image in the way that she expressed or was seen sexually here with Saturn. She could have attracted a lot of individuals who wanted to enforce and abuse her for her sacred, and I just keep seeing sacred, I keep saying sacred. A lot of individuals who wanted to use her for her beauty that was inherited to her, because Saturn talks about karma, and then Scorpio here is inheritance, and then you have the first house here. So her image, a lot of individuals, it was destined for her to be beautiful, in her image to be seen by a lot of individuals, but there are also a lot of secrets in the structures and in the building foundation that were brought into her environment here. She had to face a lot of challenges and obstacles, especially when it came to her, because she has Pluto in the 8th house, especially when it came to 8th house matters, like power, sex, inheritances, secrets, magic. She could have even had someone with like a darker Sagittarian energy who kind of just restricted her from searching into the occult, even though occult things came towards her. With her Uranus and Pisces in the 4th house, this means that she was the trendsetter. She was like the first to do things, or she was inspired to do things. Things were very chaotic once again in her home. Her mother brought a lot of chaos, or her mother brought a lot of unconditional love to her, since her home was in so much chaos here. With the Uranus and Pisces, these are two, like Uranus, one you can't put in a box, two Pisces you can't put in a box. So this is some very dark feminine power energy here, especially with it being in the 4th house. There's a lot of things that were very chaotic when it came to her foundation and her roots here. There's also a lot of magic this could talk about as well, here within the 4th house. This could be because the 4th house to me is kind of like habits. This is what we inherit. This is in our roots. So this is like, she could have inherited either a very artistic, crazy, chaotic way of expressing herself, or she could have inherited a very addictive, isolated, because this talks about isolating. She could have been isolated from having this home, having this unconditional foundation, especially with that in its lowest degrees. It was just like lots of isolation, unexpected isolation. This could also talk about her, I don't know why I'm getting her younger years. This could talk about her not really having a childhood, in a sense, with Uranus and Pisces in the fourth house conjunct to her Venus, because this is her desires. So this is like unexpected chaos, unexpected revolutionary, but this is like all in the home and the foundation in her roots, and it's all tied to her mother. So her mother could have brought lots of isolation to her. Her mother could have been isolated from her, um, or she was just completely isolated from her feminine energy and forced into her masculine energy all the time. With Neptune in Leo in the ninth house in retrograde, this talks about her having dreams of being desired and being wanted and seen in a higher octave, being desired and wanted for her spirituality, being desired and wanted for her creativity, or just dreaming of being able to express her creativity at its highest octane, at its highest level. And especially this talks about her, in a sense, dreaming of a self-expression that is deeply within her subconscious here. With this Neptune energy, her purpose was to come here and be this energetic youth ball of fun, play hard energy here with it in the ninth house of Leo. This also talks about her could, at a slower degree, she could possibly had went through experiences where she was restricted from this and she was told to only believe a certain dogmatic point of view, and where in a sense she was shamed, or she shamed others for expressing their own philosophy and having to go back and rethink about what her philosophy truly is and what her dream and purpose is to express her own philosophy. With Pluto in Gemini in the 8th house, it talks about her learning to listen and having power struggles. She could either have been surrounded by individuals who didn't want to listen to her and they had deep power struggles, or her not being able to want to listen to others caused a lot of power struggles within her. Her learning to listen and learn and kind of like, this is like silence. This is like silence is the best revenge secret. This is kind of like at a higher octave. This is mind games as well with Pluto and Gemini. This is mind games. This is like her knowing how to manipulate others' minds, or others knowing how to manipulate her mind. With her vortex being conjunct in her Pluto, there were very fated events where there was a lot of mind control, mind manipulation, mind transformation, lots of learning here, especially when it came to the mind. This is definitely like all is mind at its finest here. There could have been a lot that went on in her mind. She was never able to fully rest her mind because it was like she was being pulled in so many different ways, being used for so many different people here with it in the 8th house. This talks about secrets. Okay, there could have even been rituals done on her mind with Vertex connected to Pluto here. But in a sense, this allowed her to be extremely powerful, especially when it came to the mind and determination when what it was that she truly desired in her immediate environment. Now, moving on, her North Node was in Taurus in the 7th house. So she was destined to learn about the value of partnerships. With it in retrograde, this lets me know that she had to deal with a lot of partnerships at her early ages that didn't really value her. They didn't appreciate her. They didn't acknowledge her. And this was for her to learn how to value herself and appreciate her relationships. She could have dealt with a lot of relationships that were very greedy. Okay, a lot of gluttony, a lot of relationships that were very superficial and had no deeper meaning to them. Now, with her South Node in Scorpio in the 1st house, lets me know that this individual did have lots of psychic gifts. they might not have been developed since it's in the first house, and the first house talks about um, developing. But she could have carried that same eager to learn about how being more mysterious in the way that she presented herself to others, or she was presented to others in a very mysterious way. With karma in Vedic astrology, the most karmic signs are Aquarius and Scorpio. These are said to be the cursed zodiac signs. So wherever you have Aquarius or Scorpio at in your birth chart, this is in a sense where I guess you were cursed by the gods, and there's a sense of karma that you have to repay, whether it be good or bad, um, in order to in order to regain a new beginning here for yourself. Okay, so with Scorpio in the first house, this talks about war. This is like things coming into her life that put her in a fight or flight mode. Things coming into her life that made her transform and change her image repetitively. At a negative note, this could have even talked about a lot of abuse coming in, a lot of abusive people coming into her life to use and abuse her for her sexual energy. With Lilith in Libra at its darkest degree at 12th house in Pisces, this definitely talks about her having hidden enemies, seen, unseen, known, unknown, with the naked eye. With Libra, her partnerships were definitely karmic. Majority of them were dark, and with it in the 12th house, this talks about isolation. She could have even been isolated from those more harmonious relationships in her early stages of life. With her learning duality here with it in Libra, this is talking about her needing to embrace her independence because it's in Lilith. So this talks about her being restricted or not being able to be open and codependent with individuals because there's a sense of her not feeling safe unconsciously in the unconscious mind with Lilith in the 12th house. This talks about her escaping through relationships, her not feeling safe when it came to escaping into relationships unconsciously, or just even in partnerships in general. This could have been someone who's very, very independent, resilient, and strong-minded, and there was a need for her to be a little more codependent, but every time she tried to be codependent, there was a hidden enemy, and it kind of, because her Chiron is in Aries, this means that she struggled between being overly independent and overly codependent. There was never really any harmony there between those two. With her vortex and Virgo in the 10th house, this talks about fortune. So her taking care of her own well-being, her learning to not overgive to individuals, her learning to kind of, in a sense, pay attention to every little detail when it came to her public image and who she was of service to as she gotten older, helped her, in a sense, learn to not hold resentment or be critical at a lower octave. This could talk about someone being very critical of others and their services and their gifts that they have to give. But with it being at a higher octave, kind of in a more degreed place, this talks about her being of service to others in their career. So her being an actress, she was very needed by lots of people in the industry, especially wherever she lived, which I think was in Hollywood. Now, when I went to go look into her story, because I always loved her movie as a kid, the movie Shirley Temple was a really cool movie, but there's just something about the movie. I'm not really sure what it is, but she wanted me to express this. Her IC was in Aquarius in the 3rd house. So with her IC, this talks about her always having to plan and think for her future. She never could actually be in the present moment. With her MC, this is like her barely having time to herself. With MC and Leo, in the ninth house, this talks about her being expanded throughout a community and never really being able to have that time to herself because she was always busy, always moving around, always traveling, always meeting different civilizations and different groups. Okay, at a higher octave. This could also talk about her just coming here for her purpose and knowing what that purpose is and having the right team to do that, learning what team was going to help her do that, and then changing and making an impact for herself as she got older, though. So, this has been my analysis on Shirley Temple's birth chart reading and Vedic astrology. We could go deeper into the nakshatras, which are here, but I'm not going to do that. Scorpio ascendant is nothing to play with. I just want to say that here. So shout out to all my Scorpio ascendants, because you guys can be very resilient, or you guys can just be in the darker aspects of Scorpio where you just kind of want to fade away and die. This could also talk about suicide as well here. So this has been my analysis of Shirley Temple's birth chart. I hope you guys found this interesting and enlightening on what it is she may or may have not went through in her life. Only she would know. This is what I got for y'all. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for tuning in with me. This has been your girl Law. Take care.